And now this for you, a Fox News alert on the efforts to stop a nuclear Iran. The head of Iran's Nuclear Atomic Agency organization saying today that the rogue regime, here's what they said, you know what, in those talks we're going to have on October 1st, we're not going to discuss the issue of our nuclear rights. That's kind of off the table as far as Iran's concerned. And those are for the upcoming talks in Geneva on October 1. That is a very big date in all of this. Now, the issue raises another big question. And that is this. Is Iran currently developing a nuclear warhead? This is a picture of one of Iran's nuclear sites. Germany and France and Israel all claim that they think Iran never did stop its, quote, weaponization program to develop a nuclear warhead. U.S. intelligence, though, differs with that. U.S. officials say, nope, Iran stopped weapons 6 years ago and never resumed that program. So why are we getting such vastly different intelligence on this issue? Joining me now, I'm pleased to have former Israeli ambassador to the UN and Fox News contributor Dan Gillerman. Dan, welcome. Good to have you. That's the first question, I guess. Hi. Why is it so different? We saw that very controversial 07 intelligence estimate that said, nope, Iran's not working on a nuclear warhead. Your folks, the Mossad, and also France and Germany say it never stopped or it was restarted in 05.
Well, as you just said, and rightly so, Martha, the report which was published in 2007 was indeed very controversial. I think it wasn't just controversial, I think it was scandalous, and I know for a fact that some of the authors of that report regretted at least some parts of it afterwards. It was premature, it was inconclusive, and it actually weakened the case against Iran, not only militarily, but diplomatically and politically. And then you had the President of the United States, flanked by the leaders of France and Britain, only last Friday, having to stand there in front of the whole world and say that they have just discovered that Iran indeed did have another nuclear facility capable of producing nuclear weapons, which they totally denied until it was discovered. So we're dealing with a regime which is deceiving and lying and lulling the world into trying to believe that they're not doing what they're really doing. And I think that, with all due respect to the CIA, I don't think their record in recent years, whether it's regarding 9/11 or Iraq, is one that we should be relying on. I think that when you look at the Israeli evidence, at the French evidence, at the German evidence, at the British evidence, you realize you have a regime here which is on a quest to acquire nuclear weapons, and we cannot afford to treat this as a quiz show. We have to take every measure.
We're talking about something that is so vitally important here, and you can't listen to this conversation without thinking back to what the discussion was before the war in Iraq. And now we've got 2 identified nuclear sites in Iran and a group of people, all very smart, intelligent people in our intelligence services, looking at the situation, coming up with very, very different conclusions. As we head closer to some sort of sanctions or some sort of action taken against Iran. Tell me what you believe in terms of a warhead, in terms of capability, in terms of these 2 sites, whether or not that's it, or is there another big site out there in Iran somewhere? What does Israel believe?
We believe very strongly that Iran is on an incessant quest for nuclear weapons, that they have already crossed the point of no return, that they have already achieved the capability and the capacity to produce one, that they're much nearer than what anyone thought. We've been talking all along and all the time about 2009, the end of 2009, and we're right there. The rest of the world was talking much further. I think that we today have the evidence which is indeed a smoking gun. Unfortunately, a gun smokes only after it's been fired, and by that time it will be too late. We Israelis, who have learned the lesson, we Jews who have learned the lesson the hard way, of the whole world saying about another small person that he was mad and a lunatic and just ranting, and paid a huge price, cannot afford to take a gamble on this. And I believe that we, together with some of our European allies and with our American friends, should look very carefully at the evidence and at the same time listen very carefully to what that president of Iran is saying. Who is threatening to wipe Israel off the face of the map. Right. He's denying the Holocaust while preparing the next one. And my advice to everybody is, don't listen to us. Listen to him and take him at face value.
And
this
everything
man
that
may sound mad, but is for real.
And everything that you're discussing becomes a very different picture if indeed Iran has a nuclear warhead. If they have that capability, their negotiating power and the way that they look at the rest of the world and the Middle East and Israel becomes very, very different if they have anything close to being able to push Israel off the map, as they have stated is their goal.
Well, Martha, we're already living in an incredibly, horribly, ugly, dangerous world. We're probably living in the most dangerous world we've lived in since World War II. Not just with Iran, but with Afghanistan and Pakistan and rogue regimes and terror organizations. If Iran is actually in possession of a nuclear weapon, this will turn this horribly dangerous and ugly world into a world which will be impossible for civilization to be maintained the way we want it and the way we know it. Just the mere fact that they have it, just the knowledge that they have it, the effect it will have on their Arab neighbors, the effect it will have on the rest of the world will be devastating, and therefore the world cannot afford to have a nuclear Iran and must do everything in its power to stop it, and stop it now. Enough is enough. The party is over.
Well, Dan Gillerman, you have spoken very articulately on this subject, and Benjamin Netanyahu was very passionate and very moving on this at the UN. It is a crucial issue to the security of the world, and we thank you very much for shedding some more light on it with us today. Thank you, sir.